Welcome to Comics in the Making. My name is Ryan Holgerson. I'm the creator of Slackmatic. It has been forever since I have done a solo vid for the YouTube channel. For whatever reason, things just got away from me and it was too hard to keep up with doing the weekly stories and videos, commentary going over my comics and stuff like that. And so it dropped by the wayside. But for whatever reason, the moment struck me and I was like, hey, why don't I try and get a new one up? And so I thought it might be kind of fun, to do one on doing panels and word balloons and lettering and comics, because that's really exciting. So that's what we're gonna do. So right now I'm working on Procreate on my iPad Pro, which is quite a departure because for the last few years I've been working in Clip Studio Paint on a laptop using a Cintiq Pro 24, and for whatever reason I've been migrating over to the iPad. That's probably a whole separate video where I'll talk about why I've been working on that more. But working in Procreate, you do have to figure out some creative workarounds sometimes when you're doing comics, because it's not made necessarily for comic making, like Clip Studio is. So that's why I thought it might be kind of cool to look and see how I do lettering, how I do word balloons, how I do the panels, to have a nice, easy, streamlined process when it comes to my comic making over there. So, without further ado, let's get over to my iPad and let's talk about that. So here we are at my Procreate home screen. Got all my pieces of art and stuff right here. Up here at the top, I've got all the latest stories that I've done and some that I'm working on. And when I started working in Procreate for comics, which I had done years before, this isn't necessarily new, but I've been kind of refining my process on here to make it easier. And when I came back to it, I knew I wanted to create a template for a comic book page and have a lot of elements in there to make it easier moving forward. So it was a little bit of work getting to that point. Now, I'm not going to go through everything on my template because that might be another video. But so this one's going to be all about the lettering and the panel borders. So right here, I've got a Slackmatic manga page. So this is the standard comic page that I use. It's the same size that I was using in Clip Studio Paint, and that's what I've modeled my Procreate comics after. I didn't want it to be like a huge change going from Clip Studio to Procreate. So I wanted the sizes and everything to really match. So let's go ahead and duplicate this. And let's go into the page. So when we're talking about lettering, zoom that in a bit. One of the kind of annoying things for me in Procreate when it comes to the text tool is that the settings do not save necessarily. And in Clip Studio, you can set your settings for the dialogue and the word balloons and stuff like that, and they're just there, and you don't have to worry about it, and it's great. And in Procreate, it's kind of like every time you set up a new text, which could be, there could be up to 10 on a comic book page, you're having to reset everything. Unless you do this. Now, this was not my idea. I think I saw it on somebody else's video and it kind of clicked or whatever, but this had to be an element in my template. So if we look at the layers, the very, very top one, I've got the lettering, and I just have it saying insert text here. So within this, I have it at a 20 point font size. I've got the kerning set, the tracking, the leading is right where I want, which that's your space between the lines here. And so I've got it all set exactly where I want it to be for a dialogue balloon. And I got to these settings by copying my Clip Studio file, which I don't have it on here actually because I've long erased it. But all I did was take a page that I did in Clip Studio, bring it into here, and then copy the lettering and to get the size and kerning, tracking, leading, everything to where it was the same as it was in Clip Studio. Now, I think a lot of lettering with the leading and everything, it can depend on the text, the font that you're using, on how it looks right with the spacing and everything. It's hard for me to describe when you get to like, yes, this just looks right. For me, the spacing and everything using this font, this just looks right to me. And so your mileage may vary. You might want to do something different. Hey, you might want to do your lettering hand-drawn in Procreate. I've done that before. And you can use these fonts as a guide and then go over it. But that's not what I do. It's not what I do anymore. I use this one. And hey, what font am I using? I'm using Ready for Anything, which is a Blambot font. It is a pay font. I think I paid maybe $40 for it or something like that. It's well worth it. Nate Picos does amazing fonts. I use Blambot fonts all the time. Head over there, blambot.com. It's amazing. You know, the $40 or whatever I spent on this font is well worth it. It has been my main dialogue font for 6-7 years, maybe longer than that. And I love hand lettering fonts. I think they're great. I love when people actually just write and draw the lettering, and I think it's great. For me, when I use this, I can just never get it to look as good as this Ready for Anything font. And so I've just continued to use it because I'm like, hey, it's what I like. So I've got all my settings ready. I've got the font. It's all in here. So when I'm doing a page, let's say I've got 6 dialogue balloons that I need to use. Well, then I'm just going into my layers and I'm just duplicating these lettering layers. And that way, all the settings are the same. It's keeping everything. It's got the dialogue font ready. It's got the leading ready. Everything is ready to go. And then when I'm ready to type something in here, 1, 2, 3. Well, 1, 2, 3. You're making me look like a fool, Procreate. There. 3 taps. Or maybe 20 taps, depending on how it wants to treat you. Will highlight everything. Once I've got everything highlighted, then I can come in here and I can start typing something out. So let's see. Let's just type hello, everyone. And then from there, if I want to change this to where it's like a bold or something like that, I can double tap. That'll just highlight everything on a like a word. I can tap bold, make that bold. I can do all sorts of stuff once I have that. But when I figured this out, where I was able to just duplicate these word balloons, it really streamlined my process for Procreate, really made things faster. And I was so excited that I figured this out. So let's see, let's go back to the gallery. So now we're going to talk about, once I've got all the lettering done, or I've got it all in place and I'm ready to go from there. So let's open up the story that I'm currently working on, which is called Dog Catchers. Hey, quick Patreon plug. You can go to patreon.com/Slackmatic, see these pages as they get finished. And I put them over there. Let's go to page 6. I have not done any of the word balloons or panels on this page yet, but as you can see, I have all the dialogue ready to go. So let's see, real fast. I should have done this before. I'm going to drop down the opacity of all these pencil layers. It just makes it a little easier to see where we're going and stuff like that. So what I've just done is I just created a layer below my panels layer. You don't have to do this. This is the way I do it. This is the way I prefer it. But I like my lettering to be all the way to the top. I want all the dialogue on the top. I want the panels under that. And then I want the word balloons under that. And then all the final art goes on the bottom. I just like that so I can move stuff around if I have to. And it's not 100% connected to the finished art and stuff like that. So one of the big problems I had with Procreate when I was first using it was my word balloons just never looked right. And that might seem like a bit of a nitpicky thing. And it is. But what I would see a lot of people doing, and I'll show you an example, was in Procreate, you can draw a line or a shape and hold it, and then it will make these like perfect ellipses, or you can do that and then put a finger down on the screen and it'll make a perfect circle. And what I was seeing a lot from people using Procreate, and even myself to a point, was doing that. And it just makes these really boring word balloons. I don't like it. Hey, if you do, that's great. To me, I'm sorry, it smacks of amateurism. And I'm just super picky about that stuff. I'm not going to say I haven't done that, because I totally have, but I've always hated it. Another thing that I would do, let's see, what was it? I would hold it, and then I would click this little editing button up top, and then you can kind of squeeze it and stuff like that. You can make it look a little more natural, I guess, but still not a fan. So how do I get to what I really wanted? And what I really wanted was natural looking word balloons that looked hand-drawn, because that's what it is. But the problem was when I was using my regular brush and I would do it, I would get these squiggles like this. And I just wasn't happy with them. And so I was trying to figure out how to get around that. And here's how I got around that. I duplicated my favorite brush. The brush I use is called the Barks. It's from his name is Georg, I think. If you Google Georg Procreate brushes, he's gonna pop up. He's got a ton of great brushes, a lot of them based on different cartoonists. He's got like a Craig Thompson brush, Will Elder brush, R. Crumb brush, all these different brushes. Well, he had one on, I guess, the Carl Barks. I'm a big fan of Carl Barks. But for whatever reason, this has been my most used line work brush in Procreate. Pretty much since I started working in Procreate almost 10 years ago. And I've used other brushes, but I just keep coming back to this one. This is just the one that works for me. So what I did was I took this brush and I duplicated it. And then I went into the stabilization and I jacked it up. So let's see, let's go to recent. So if we look in this one, which I call the Barks balloon, and we go to stabilization, I've got it up to 65%. So it gives you this, it's almost like drawing with a magnet or something like that. And it doesn't feel very natural. It feels kind of weird. But for doing something like word balloons, where you want to have these nice smooth lines, and I'll be honest, there are certain lines in the actual inking process that I'll use it for. Not a lot, but every once in a while I'll have a line I'm having problems with and I'll use it. But for word balloons, it works perfect. So let's go ahead and ink some of these word balloons, and I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about. So we've got our Barks balloon picked out. There we go. All right. So that's what I do. I go in, I get my word balloons together. When it comes to the shape, you're going for these egg-shaped ovals. Again, this is it's like a stylistic thing for me. I just know when I like it. But you're also almost going for these kind of rounded, almost square to rectangle shapes. And again, that's what I'm going for. So, and you can see, I've got the pencils drawn in here, but I'm not necessarily going over them. It's really just as a very quick guide for me. So got all these other lines and stuff like that. So I'm going to go in there with the eraser, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to erase so we can make these all one balloon. All right. So now that looks like a comic book word balloon, right? All right, so let's get the rest of these done. Might just fast forward these buddies because it's a bunch of the same. And I have got a hair that keeps attaching here that just does not want to move. All right, so there we go. All of the word balloons are done. Everything is enclosed, which we'll get to that in a little bit. But again, some of these little stylistic choices are why I like using Procreate right now opposed to Clip Studio Paint. Clip Studio Paint has a really easy, fast word balloon process. It's great. And honestly, I got pretty good, I think, at making it look pretty natural and stuff like that. And also, almost all of this, I could use this process in Clip Studio also. But I'm not. We're talking about Procreate. But the thing I like about using the Procreate app for stuff like this and using this process for the word balloons are these little stylistic choices, like making this really small little word balloon tail, or this one that curves a little more. It just, these are things that probably nobody in the world notices when they read my comics, but it's stuff that makes me happy. Also, there's slight line variations in these lines. This brush works like a brush. It tapers. And so I like that a lot. So again, it's all just little stylistic things. You can do all of this with a completely different brush, with your own brush. It doesn't matter. This is just the process I use. So I've got my word balloons done. They're all ready to go. Now what I want to do is I want to get these panel borders in here. So this is a really sketchy. In fact, maybe I'll turn the opacity up just a little bit on these. You know what? We'll just go to 100. Let's see. So this whole page has started again from a template I created using Clip Studio Paint. So we've got these this center set of panels right here. This is the safe zone. When it gets printed, it's safe. It's not going to get cut off. As we move over here, the actual comic page ends right here. That's where when you print this, it's going to be completely gone. And anything over to this side is safe. Everything over there, you've got a chance that it's just going to be gone. When you print it, it's going to get trimmed off. That's just how printing works. It's not a printing video. So, but to make things easier with making panels, because again, Procreate is not made necessarily just for making comics. When I made this template, I made this layer called panels, and you'll see that it says assisted. And so when it's assisted, your lines are automatically gonna go with the grid that you have set up. So they're gonna go at 90-degree angles, 45-degree angles, to make things easier. So for this grid, we'll take a look. I've got this just squares. Let's see what I have them set up. Again, I have all of these set up. I have them at 3 millimeter wide squares. And the reason I did that is my vertical gutters here are 3 millimeters, not liters. Sorry, I'm American. This metric system is new to me. These vertical gutters are 3 millimeters, and then these horizontal ones here, they are 9 millimeters. And again, this is straight from what I was doing in Clip Studio. I wanted it to match the vertical and the horizontal. This is more of a manga style of doing gutters. That's the way a lot of manga artists do it. Totally stylistic, don't have to. I just wanted to. So on this layer where we're going to make the panels, like I said, I've got it all assisted, and that means that the lines are going to go with this grid. So let's go ahead and get these traced. All right, so there we go. I've got all my borders traced out, but we can see it's going through all these word balloons and stuff like that. Looks kind of like a mess. So let's go to our layers. We are going to create a layer right under the panels, and then we're going to create a layer right under the word balloons. So let's go to our panel layer. We're going to click on that, and we're going to make it a reference layer. So what that's going to do is Procreate is only going to reference that layer when we start filling in colors. So underneath it, I'm going to grab white color. We're on that layer underneath. We're going to drop that in, and then bam, creates all those borders right around the panel borders that we did. Now, you could do this on the same layer if you wanted to. I'm just a little picky, and I want to make sure that the pixels aren't going to go into the black borders and stuff like that. This keeps it separate. I don't have to worry about it. I have plenty of layers to work with, so I do it on separate layers. So now we're going to do the same thing with the word balloon layer. We're going to click on that. We're going to click reference. We're going to go to the layer underneath it. We're going to drop the white in there, and now we can click that continue filling. And there we go. So we've got our panels are ready to go. The word balloons are ready to go. And yeah, I've been using this system since probably last August or so. I kind of migrated to Procreate, was using that more. And I really enjoy it. And honestly, a part of the reason I really enjoy it is because I can do these little stylistic things that probably nobody notices or cares about. But even doing the borders where there's some slight taper and stuff like that to the borders. And again, technically, I'm using the same brush for everything. The word balloons, the panels, the line work. It's all this Carl Barks brush. I've just got one set with more stabilization than the other. So yeah, I hope that helped. I think I might do some more videos doing different processes of how I do comics, going a little more further in depth like this one. But yeah, back to me. Thanks for checking out the video. I hope you found that helpful. I hope you can use some of those techniques in your own comic book making in the future. Hey, let me know if it helped. Hit the like button, leave a comment, hit the subscribe button. Hey, if you would like to support me and my comic book making, go to patreon.com/slackmatic. It's only $2 a month. You get all of my comics as soon as they're done. I'm going to be working on some exclusive stuff over there, but $2 a month, and it means the world to me, helps me out so much. Until next time, just do the damn thing.